Ah yes, Super Mario, the video game that took the world by storm and changed gaming culture forever. Just a simple story about a normal dude saving a princess from a weird dragon turtle man. But outside of whatever Bowser is supposed to be, it's a pretty easy and simple story to understand. After all, it is just a kid's game. But that doesn't quite satisfy me. Here on this new show that I'm going to call Hidden Meaning, I think that there's more to art than meets the eye. In fact, I think that this plumber is holding a deep, dark secret. But what possible hidden meaning could be in such a simple series with such a cutesy style? There's not a single character that feels weird or out of place or has any weird motivations that are unknown. Unless, of course, they're hiding in plain sight. Have you ever wondered why Mario wants to save Princess Peach in the first place? The simple answer has always been, well, Mario is just a good dude, or Mario is in love with Princess Peach. Well, what if I told you neither of these are necessarily true? The original purpose of Mario as a character was to be this kind of working man who could fill any role that the game required. This includes working with animals and circus kind of stuff, as we see in the Donkey Kong games. But if you know anything about the Donkey Kong games, you would probably know that Mario isn't necessarily a great guy. Not just in Donkey Kong, but in any Mario game, Mario has this weird habit of abusing animals. Obviously, Mario helps people, but this is usually to further his own goals. When nobody's looking, Mario is kind of a dick. The other reason, being Mario is in love with Peach, makes a lot more sense, and I can believe that Mario has a crush on Peach for how far he goes to go get her. But it seems like a decent chunk of Nintendo, and even the games themselves to some extent, don't want Mario and Peach to get together. So if Mario is in this friend zone or cuck relationship around Peach, then why does he insist on being so loyal to the Mushroom Kingdom and Peach every single game? Well, what if I told you I think the reason Mario keeps going on this never-ending chase is more politically motivated. An often forgotten part of Mario's history are his more forgotten games from before and in the middle and in between his more popular games. In these lesser-known games, Mario seems to be on this constant job hunt where he's done a cement factory, he's been a war veteran kind of guy, he's done pretty much everything under the sun. So in Mario's life outside of the Mushroom Kingdom, you can kind of get this perception that he's more of a loser. We even see this in the Mario movie where he's just kind of a guy trying to get by. So you have this weird kind of dichotomy where in the real world, our world, or New Donk City, which is supposed to be New York, Mario is just this older gentleman who's trying his best to be financially stable. He seems to have no real major power in his real life. But then, all of a sudden, he goes to the Mushroom Kingdom where he can be this weird hero, adventurer, Indiana Jones type guy. But here's where the dark and twisted and almost tragic part of my theory comes in. Mario will go from the oppressed working class to the oppressor. What do we really know about Princess Peach? And I want you to take a second to think about that before you keep going. But here's a quick rundown of what we do know. Peach seems to be some sort of authoritarian monarch, which there are many of in the Mario universe. But the games seem to glorify Princess Peach while demonizing guys like Bowser or King K. Rool, which is strange because in a political sense, they're not very different. So why make Bowser an antagonist and make Princess Peach a protagonist? Well, put simply, because we, the player, are Mario. And what I mean by that is that in almost every single Mario game, you always play as someone who's on the side of Princess Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom. Usually represented through normal people like Mario or Luigi, who are just normal working class guys, or Toad, who is just an average citizen. But the games portray us as in the right, and we're constantly stomping our enemies to death. So I just want to take a second and stop, because from this point on in the theory, we have some pretty extreme ideas that I'm going to throw out there, including themes of racism and all sorts of stuff, so you've been warned. Now, I know the title of Exhibit C sounds pretty extreme, but I'm going to state my case, and I'm going to try and make it as clear as possible without making light of the situation. This is supposed to be extreme, it's supposed to be a little funny. Obviously, I don't think that Mario is a Nazi. It's all just one big theory, and I'm not trying to make light of any of the situation. The Holocaust and World War II and that period of time was horrible. I'm not trying to make one big joke out of it. I'm just trying to have a little fun here, so I hope y'all understand. Now, as we've already covered in our first part of the theory, in Mario's normal day-to-day life, he probably felt powerless and somewhat alone, and he's just kind of chasing that want to be almost an oligarch, perhaps, in the Mushroom Kingdom. But if there's one thing we know about fascism and the way it manipulates the narrative, it's that fascists will often try and dehumanize their opponents or perceived opposition in order to make the public in general just go against these groups of people. So when you have this just kind of older white guy who is just going from job to job and is probably struggling financially, he thinks the world is against him, and he feels like the world has been unfair. So when he gets to the Mushroom Kingdom and has this new world of opportunity, it's very, very easy for him to be manipulated and swayed into thinking the unfairness that's happened towards him comes from these people who aren't equal. This is why Mario's enemies in the video games are often depicted as non-human. They're almost always these animals with human-like traits, which can lead you to believe maybe they aren't animals, but this is just how Mario perceives them. Fascists justify their cruelty and racism against these people by making them less than human in their minds. So despite his enemies clearly having human attributes that they always exhibit, Mario can only see these animals or creatures. You can easily see the dichotomy between the Mushroom Kingdom, where everyone is presented as these humanoid guys, like they're just humanoid mushroom people. But then on the other side, with Bowser and his minions, they're all either turtles or these weird dinosaur creatures, or even the other mushrooms, the Goombas, are little brown mushrooms. I think if you just pick up on every little detail, you can start to see more and more parallels. So yes, I think that Mario was originally maybe not the worst guy, but always had racist tendencies, and then he fell into the Mushroom Kingdom and kinda became part of this Nazi-like culture. And perhaps the reason he's so dedicated is because he's been fully brainwashed by this fascist agenda into believing that one day he will be part of Peach's royal family, that he will be part of the oligarchy. If you need even more evidence, just look at how diverse Bowser's army and Mario's opposition is. There's thousands of different kinds of enemies that Mario faces, almost as if he's eliminating the inferior races. Which is backed up even more by how in most Nintendo games, when you defeat an enemy, it kind of just implies you knocked them out. But the implication when you defeat an enemy in Mario is that you killed them. And if you've played any Mario game ever, you probably know what the main form or way of killing enemies is. Stomping them to death. Curb stomping is a form of violence commonly associated with hate crimes. And if you need any more evidence for this theory, just think about Hitler's complex relationship with Italians in Italy, and then think about Peach's complex relationship with Mario the Italian. And for my final two pieces of evidence before I rest my case, the story of Hitler, to make it more simple, is one of a man who thought the world had wronged him and his country, and so he took out that hatred on other groups with violence. The story that I have crafted for Mario is one of a man who thinks the world has wronged him and takes out that frustration on other groups with violence. But my final piece of evidence is a very simple one. Peach has blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin. Hey, but what do I know? It's just a kid's game after all. I'm gonna say thank you for watching. I don't really know how to end the video, but, I appreciate y'all for being here and hopefully not canceling me for this. Love you guys, and as always, bye!